Ghost of Tsushima is right around the corner, and that's why I decided to make this video, where we'll be talking about the world of Ghost of Tsushima, the gameplay, combat, the map, and so much more. I've pre-ordered the game and will be posting the walkthrough on a daily basis, so be sure to subscribe and stay tuned to watch the walkthrough soon as the game is out, which should be in less than 2 days. So without further ado, let's dive into details. Now, what is Ghost of Tsushima? It's a fictional Japanese open-world RPG based on real events, the invasion of Japan by the Mongols in 1274. Our protagonist is Jin Sakai, starting the game as one of Tsushima's few remaining samurais during the first Mongol invasion of Japan, but forced to change his restrictive and traditional samurai ways against the brutality of the Mongol army, who was utilizing weapons and military tactics that were unknown to the Japanese, what saw them easily defeated in the first wave of the Mongol invasion, resulting in many territories conquered by the Mongols. Jin Sakai, one of the few survivors of his clan, turns to the untraditional and rather despised ways of the Ghost, an unconventional fighting style that emphasizes small-scale attacks, creating fear in the minds of the enemy, and using their own weapons against them, hoping to prevent the Mongol armies from launching a full-scale invasion on the mainland of Japan. Anyway, what do we know about the Ghost of Tsushima before the release so far? We all know it's an open-world RPG that has breathtaking landscapes, but that alone is not what makes Ghost of Tsushima stand out. The game features a variety of diverse regions, landscapes, and buildings such as countrysides, fields, shrines, ancient forests, villages, farms, and tons of different landmarks. The game director Nate Fox stated that the Ghost of Tsushima is a game that is entirely grounded in reality. We are trying hard to transport people to 1274 Japan. We are inspired by history, but we are not building it back stone by stone, and we are not trying to rebuild Tsushima Island. He continues to describe the protagonist of the story is a work of fiction, and we actually thought about using historical figures. So we asked some people whom are more culturally aware about the historical events than us, and they said that it would be insensitive, so we decided to avoid it. This is what makes this game special in my opinion. Most of us heard stories about the Japanese samurai swordsmanship, traditions, lifestyle, culture, and the beauty of their landscapes. In Ghost of Tsushima, we dive deeper into it and live through the experience of it all. According to the YouTuber Joe Raptor, the map is incredibly huge. He states that the first area is already good for 20 plus hours of gameplay, and then another smaller parts that are still relatively big are playable too, and continues to praise the diversity of the landscapes from one part of the map to another. From what we've seen so far, the game is beautiful, and the way the game's environment shifts depending on where you are in the map will make you want to explore more and discover more breathtaking landscapes in these Japanese lands that are known for their beauty in reality. Joe Raptor also mentioned that the more you progress in the game, the more gorgeous the landscapes you discover become. Also, throughout the game, you will come across some very large towns and settlements, which in my opinion is quite cool and unexpected for a game as big as Ghost of Tsushima. And in those towns, something that Ghost of Tsushima shares with most other RPG games is that people will approach you to talk and give you side quests, which is never a bad thing if you ask me. It basically adds to your to-do list. Although some of these side quests will be more memorable than others, and it will take you an average of 20 minutes to finish a single side quest. According to IGN, side quests in Ghost of Tsushima are more interesting than usual due to their variousness, which just might keep us from suffering the repetitiveness that we experience in most formally released RPGs. The first type of side quests is called the Tales of Tsushima. Apparently, they are the most common playable quests, and can also be the most forgettable ones, where you are probably asked to go fight a bunch of Mongols here and there, although sometimes these missions take unexpected twists, adding more flavor and depth to the Tales of Tsushima. In addition, they can occasionally present gameplay scenarios that you wouldn't experience unless you play them. On top of that, Tales of Tsushima rewards you with charms, where each of these charms boosts your gen in a certain aspect. Next type of side quest is the multi-part character-based specific side quest, which you get from the major characters in the game. The purpose of these missions is to give each major character their own story, and therefore the player feel more attached and connected to those characters. not to mention that most of these side missions are actually deep and touching. Finally, the third type of side quest is the mythic tales, epic side quests that you get from listening to musicians tell their stories. Those quests are said to be some of the best moments in the entire game, and in these missions you basically get the best rewards. The combat in Ghost of Tsushima is something we haven't experienced before in any other RPG game. You will notice that it's not only light and heavy attacks, but in fact it has a lot more depth into it, and it continues to evolve in the course of the game. Not that you have the choice to avoid the bad dishonorable ghost reputation, as it's a part of the storyline, but in combat you have the complete freedom of choosing your approach to spilling the blood of your enemies. Are you gonna take your stand as an honorable samurai and challenge your enemies to lethal head-to-head standoff where you can actually drop multiple enemies before the actual battle starts? Or will you turn to the dirty tricks of the dishonorable ghost and use lures, firecrackers and smoke bombs to even the odds and lure your enemies to their death to have your poison dagger pierce their back before they even know you're there? Whatever you choose though, it will not save you from gaining that dishonorable reputation amongst the Japanese, as being a ghost is what the story revolves around. Although your enemies will grow to fear you, as you are also gaining the ruthless ghost reputation amongst the Mongols, which by the way will affect the way the combat works in the course of the game. Now what actually makes the combat stands out is the stances. You get multiple stances that each proves effective against the 4 types of enemies in the game: swordsman, shieldsman, brutes and spearsman. And you will have to constantly change stances during the combat, as you will be attacked by multiple enemies of different types. It might be overwhelming in the beginning, but you will learn to be quicker with changing stances by time and experience. In addition, you can parry or dodge, which you can follow up with a lethal blow. Although the combat in Ghost of Tsushima has literally one downside, which is not being able to lock on target. Why? I can't think of a reason, but you just simply can't, which kinda makes it harder, especially that fighting each enemy requires choosing a specific stance. Customizing your character is a very important aspect of every RPG game. And again, Ghost of Tsushima didn't fail to impress, as the character customization seems rather interesting, especially when it comes to armor, because as you may have seen in footage, when playing as Ghost you are dressed differently from when playing as Samurai, and those aren't just empty skins that fits the theme of your playstyle, but each set of armor gives you different mechanical advantages. It actually enhances your chosen playstyle and it gives you an edge in battle. Now that doesn't mean looks doesn't matter. During your journey you will constantly keep stumbling across dye flowers, which you can collect, and when you acquire the proper amount you can then use them to change the color of your armor. In addition, you can always change your hat and mask, but keep in mind it will do nothing to your stats. That level-based stat progression that forces players to grind and which RPG fans seem to despise is absent in Ghost of Tsushima. Meaning when you get stronger, it is not because your stats numbers went higher, but because you're evolving as a fighter. You are gaining actual on-ground experience and acquiring new techniques and movesets that will help you take on stronger enemies. For example, you will grow to learn how to parry the attacks of spearsmen, which you will not be able to do early in the game. That doesn't mean you will be overpowered, as enemies will constantly be getting tougher, which is why you will need to upgrade your gear, weapons, and collect charms in order to stand a chance. Ghost of Tsushima is a massive game, and there's a lot more into it, so much that I won't be able to cover everything in one video. I've gathered what I personally thought are the most important things to know before playing or purchasing the game, put them together in a video to do as I promised in the beginning of this video to help you choose whether to buy the game or not. I personally haven't yet tried the game. This is all based on research, but I will be playing on release and I will be playing the game with you guys, as I will be posting my gameplay throughout the entire game all the way till the end. So make sure to subscribe if you like what I deliver, and don't forget to drop a like on this video. Cheers!